The laughter stopped as suddenly as it started, leaving behind a silence that felt like the moments before a star goes supernova. Vex'thor's 4 eyes fixed on Marcus with an intensity that could melt hull plating. You find this amusing, human? Honestly? No, sir. I find this absolutely terrifying and also kind of surreal, like I'm having a stress dream about the worst possible family reunion. Marcus shifted his weight, the plasma restraints humming against his wrists. But if it helps, the stew really is excellent. Gran knew what she was doing in the kitchen. If it helps? Vex'thor moved closer, and Marcus could smell something like burning metal mixed with ozone. Nothing helps. Nothing changes the fact that my entire legacy is built on a misunderstanding about root vegetables and seasoning. Lieutenant Kresh stepped forward, mandibles clicking rapidly in what Marcus had learned meant extreme agitation. Commander, we could simply eliminate the human and destroy all evidence of this conversation. No one else needs to know. Oh, that's a terrible plan, Marcus said before his brain could catch up with his mouth. I mean, aside from the obvious downside where I get killed, you've got 46 other prisoners who work in that cafeteria. Half of them have seen Gran's recipe book because I kept it in my locker. Plus, I may have mentioned the symbol thing to a few people when you were dragging me up here because I was nervous and I talk when I'm nervous, which you've probably noticed by now. Vex'thor's growl sounded like tectonic plates grinding together. You told other prisoners? Just 3 or 4. Maybe 5. Possibly 7 if you count the Hendersons, but they're married so they might count as one unit. I'm not sure about the etiquette there. Marcus winced. This is going poorly, isn't it? Kresh, how long until we breach Earth's final defense station? The lieutenant consulted his tactical display. 18 minutes, Commander. The remaining vessels are concentrated around the North American continent, attempting some kind of coordinated counterattack. It's pathetic, really. They're using outdated plasma torpedoes and hoping for luck. Belay that attack. Vex'thor's words fell like hammer blows. Every single member of the bridge crew turned to stare at their commander. Someone's datapad clattered to the floor. Sir? Kresh's voice climbed an octave. Did you just order us to stop the assault? Your hearing remains functional, Lieutenant. Yes. Full stop. All vessels hold position. Vex'thor turned back to Marcus, and something in his expression had shifted from rage to something far more calculating. Tell me about this stew. I'm sorry, what? The recipe. Your grandmother's recipe. I want to know everything about it. Marcus blinked several times, trying to process this sudden turn. Okay. So, it starts with about 3 pounds of chuck roast, cut into cubes. You sear it in batches because Gran was very insistent that you can't crowd the pan or the meat steams instead of browning, and that ruins the whole flavor profile. Then you've got your standard vegetables, carrots, celery, onions, the 6 potatoes obviously, and this is important, you add tomato paste and let it caramelize before you deglaze with red wine. Red wine, Vex'thor repeated. Yeah, Gran used this cheap stuff from the corner store, said expensive wine was wasted in cooking. You scrape up all the fond from the bottom of the pot, that's where the flavor lives, then you add beef stock, the 3 bay leaves, thyme, rosemary, a little Worcestershire sauce, and you let it simmer for like 3 hours until the meats fall apart tender. Marcus paused. Why are you asking me about stew while your fleet is literally in the middle of conquering my planet? Because, Vex'thor said slowly, in my entire military career, spanning 4 decades and 17 star systems, I have learned one fundamental truth. The universe does not create coincidences this specific without reason. Commander, Kresh interrupted, the human vessels are regrouping. They think we're having technical difficulties. If we don't resume the assault soon, they might actually attempt something stupid. Let them regroup. Vex'thor began pacing, his 4 arms clasped behind his back in a posture that his crew recognized as him working through a tactical problem. Human, your grandmother's recipe book. How old was it? The notebook itself? Maybe 30 years. But some of the recipes were way older, passed down from her mother and grandmother. Family stuff, you know? Marcus watched Vex'thor pace, his confusion deepening. The stew recipe was definitely ancient. She had this note in the margin about how her gran used to make it during the food shortages of the early settlement days. Settlement days. Vex'thor stopped mid-stride. Which settlements? The Mars colonies, I think? Maybe the Luna stations? Gran's family was part of the early expansion efforts, back when humanity was just figuring out how to live off-world. Marcus frowned, trying to remember details from family stories told during holiday dinners. Her great-grandmother was actually on one of those generation ships. The Meridian, I think it was called. The bridge went dead silent. Kresh's mandibles stopped clicking entirely. The Meridian was the vessel your ancestor discovered, Commander. The one carrying the mark. Yes, Vex'thor said quietly. It was. Marcus felt something shift in the atmosphere, like reality was rearranging itself into a shape that made even less sense than before. Wait. You're telling me that the ship your ancestor found, the one with Grand Stew symbol carved into it, was the same ship her great-grandmother was on? It would appear so. But that ship disappeared. Everyone assumed the crew died when life support failed or they hit an asteroid or something. They did die, Vex'thor confirmed. My ancestor found only corpses and preserved supplies. But before they died, one of your relatives carved a recipe notation somewhere visible enough that it became the foundation of my family's identity. He resumed pacing. Do you understand what this means? That the universe has a really twisted sense of irony? It means, Vex'thor continued, ignoring the comment, that my bloodline's entire purpose, everything I have built, every battle I have won, has been under a symbol created by your blood. Your family's mark has led me to 600 victories. Okay, but it's not really a mark, it's just how Gran drew spirals and hexagons and silence. Vex'thor held up one hand. I am thinking. Marcus wisely shut his mouth while the most dangerous warlord in 17 systems stood thinking about beef stew and destiny and dead ancestors. The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances, clearly uncertain whether this situation required medical intervention or just extreme patience. Finally, Vex'thor spoke. Kresh, bring up the humans file. Full background check, genetic analysis, everything. Yes, Commander. Kresh worked his console, and data began flowing across displays. Marcus Flynn, age 32, born Earth, North American sector, employed in food services for 8 years, no military record, no criminal record, genetic markers indicate, Oh. Vex'thor prompted. His great-great-grandmother was indeed listed as crew on the Meridian. Engineer's assistant. Name was Eleanor Flynn. Kresh looked up from his display. The records show she was assigned to the galley maintenance division before the ship's disappearance. Of course she was, Marcus muttered. Family tradition of feeding people, apparently. Vex'thor moved to stand directly in front of Marcus again, but this time his posture had changed. The rage had been replaced by something that looked almost like reverence, which was somehow more unsettling. Your ancestor's mark has guided my people to glory. Under its symbol, we have never known defeat. And now, at the moment when I am about to claim my greatest conquest, her descendant appears before me, bearing knowledge of the mark's true origin. Right, about that conquest thing, Marcus said carefully. Are you still planning to, destroy my planet and enslave humanity? That depends. On what? On whether you can make the stew. Marcus stared. I'm sorry, did you just say the stew? Your grandmother's beef stew. The one represented by the mark I have carried into battle for my entire life. Vex'thor's 4 eyes blazed with an intensity that suggested this was the most important order he'd ever given. If the recipe truly holds power, if it contains something worthy of guiding the Crimson Fleet to glory, then you will prepare it. Here. Now. And I will taste what my symbol truly represents. You want to stop your invasion of Earth so I can cook you dinner? Not dinner, Vex'thor corrected. Destiny. Kresh made a strangled sound. Commander, this is insane. We're halting a military operation because of soup? Stew, Marcus and Vex'thor corrected simultaneously. And yes, Vex'thor continued, we are. Because in 40 years of conquest, I have learned to recognize when the universe presents a test. This human appears, bearing knowledge that should be impossible, connecting my past to his bloodline in ways that defy probability. If I ignore this, if I simply proceed with the invasion as planned, I will spend the rest of my days wondering what I missed. But sir, the fleet will wait. All vessels maintain defensive positions around Earth but cease offensive operations. Vex'thor turned to Marcus. You will be provided with a kitchen, whatever supplies you require, and 3 hours to prepare this legendary stew. If it proves worthy of the mark it inspired, we will discuss terms for Earth's survival. If it fails to impress, you'll kill me and resume turning my planet into a parking lot? Precisely. Marcus took a deep breath, let it out slowly. Okay, this is happening. I'm going to cook my way out of an alien invasion. Gran would either be incredibly proud or think I've lost my mind. He looked up at Vex'thor. I'm going to need some specific ingredients. Do you have beef? Actual Earth beef, not some weird alien equivalent that tastes like rubber and regret? We have supplies taken from Earth's orbital stations. Red wine? We can synthesize it. No. Absolutely not. Synthesized wine tastes wrong, and Gran's ghost will haunt me if I use it. You need the real thing, and it needs to be cheap, like bottom-shelf grocery store cheap, because that's what makes it work. Marcus was warming to the task now, his fear temporarily overridden by the sheer absurdity of the situation and his own stubborn pride in his grandmother's cooking. Also, I need bay leaves, fresh thyme, real carrots, not frozen, and potatoes that haven't been sitting in storage for 6 months. You make demands of me? You're asking me to cook my grandmother's recipe while my planet hangs in the balance. Yeah, I'm making demands. Gran didn't raise someone who'd serve substandard stew under any circumstances, apocalyptic or otherwise. For a long moment, Vex'thor just looked at him. Then, incredibly, the Warlord smiled, revealing far too many teeth. You have courage, human. Foolish, suicidal courage, but courage nonetheless. Very well. Kresh, escort our chef to the galley and provide whatever he requires. As Marcus was led off the bridge, still in restraints but now apparently the most important prisoner in the fleet, he heard Vex'thor calling after him. Human. One more thing. Marcus looked back. If this stew fails to meet expectations, I want you to know that I will make your death both swift and honorable. Your grandmother's mark has earned you that much. Great, Marcus called back. No pressure or anything. Just cooking to save the entire human race. Totally normal Thursday. As the doors closed behind him, he could have sworn he heard Vex'thor laughing again, but this time it sounded almost fond. 3 hours later, when Marcus served a bowl of his grandmother's beef stew to the most feared warlord in 17 star systems and watched those 4 alien eyes close in something that looked suspiciously like bliss after the first bite, he finally understood what Gran had always meant when she said that good food could change the world, she just never mentioned it. Might save one.